Welcome to a special edition of the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. Today's podcast is all about all you need to know ahead of the weekend's biggest NFL games, highlighted by some of this week's best Undisputed segments. Skip, Shannon, let's get to it.
The Rams are a 6.5-point favorite at home against the Falcons on Saturday. We're joined now by FS1 NFL analyst Eric Dickerson. Eric, so here's the thing. Yesterday, these two guys, they seem to be leaning towards the Falcons, so I want you to tell them why they're wrong.
Well, first of all, can I get a congratulations today, Skip? I mean,
for what?
You a sportsman.
You survived your New Year's Eve.
No, that was good, but I can't get a congratulations. I mean, you should know this.
You won the division.
He should know this.
He upset.
It's been 32 years today. I put 248 on your Cowboys.
Today was
today
the day?
is today. Today is today.
I would shake your hand
Thank
for that.
you.
I was
32
there.
years today.
I witnessed it, and it was devastating.
Oh, I love that.
Well, anyway, let me tell you why I think the Rams should win this football game. First of all, they're a better football team. We have the best running back in the National Football League. Our quarterback is playing phenomenal. We have the better defense. I think that one thing I think people look at is the Rams is they were 2-14. I mean, the year they were 2-14, the year they won the Super Bowl. I didn't believe they were a good football team then. When they came back the next year and they won, they would think they were 13-3. I'm like, the season, I'm like, oh, they're good. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. They're pretty good. Then all of a sudden you say they're good. I think the same thing is happening here. The Rams were 2-14 last year. People look at the Rams, they don't like, they the Rams, the same old Rams, and okay, they're doing a little bit better. And I still don't think people believe how good this football team is. We're very good on special teams now. We lost our kicker, most definitely Greg Zuerlein. That hurts.
That's a pretty big deal.
That's a big deal because we got across the 50 pretty much. We had 3 points. I think our offensive line is playing phenomenal. Our defense is very, very good. They've given up some big plays, but, they have a tendency to come back and bounce back. The last 3 weeks, they played very good football. And this is the time when you play your best football. Yes, the coach gave him the week off last week. I think that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a tell-all, do-all just because you get a chance to rest, but it does give your team a chance to sit back, relax, rest a little bit, and be ready for this big game coming up because this is one shot, one kill. You got to win this one or you go home. So for me, the Rams at home, very good football team, and it's hard for me to even believe that they're this good. I mean, we'll go back to last year, and I saw how bad they were last year, then come back and have a complete turnaround with the coach, a young coach, that to me, this should be coach of the year.
Team wasn't bad, coaching was bad.
Both. Well, I mean, offense was terrible. Offense was terrible. But me personally, I feel like the Rams should win this football game.
Well, Vegas believes in you.
Okay. But y'all don't believe. That's the problem. Y'all don't believe.
Tell him why.
I got to have my cohorts to believe.
I'm with Eric here, Tell me
When
why.
you look at the Falcons, they have 2 big physical receivers, Mohamed Sanu and Julio Jones. Julio Jones is from another planet. Taylor Gabriel in the slot. They got 2 running backs. They can run the football. Now, I don't know if you noticed, you guys have the 28th ranked rush defense.
I'm not afraid of that. Okay.
They have the reigning MVP at quarterback. Now, Matt Ryan has not played as well this year as he played his MVP season, but they still have that 2-headed monster, and they still have those receivers that can cause you guys problems. But if you look at it, Atlanta is 8th in scoring defense, up from 27th last year. So their defense is actually better than people give them credit for. They've gotten a lot better this time around under Dan Quinn. You know what he wants to play. He's going to play single high safety. He's going to play lurk, robber coverage, where the second safety jump any crossing route. That's what they do. That's who they are. They're a very basic defense. Skip, our guy, he has 6 sacks in one game. He finished the season with 9.5. I'm sorry, Skip.
Chaz Green.
He made $1.2 million on your guy. Send him a truck, too. But they're going to cause you some problems because of what they can do offensively. You can't make them one-dimensional, and everybody wants to try to shut off the run, so you make them one-dimensional. But you're making them one-dimensional, you might be playing better into their hands. I think, look, I'm not saying I'm all the way on Atlanta's ship yet, but I'm leaning towards the Falcons because of what they possess. The question is, do you like Jerry Goff or do you like Matt Ryan, even as poorly as Matt played on some occasions this year? It's going to come down to your core. You know it comes down to quarterbacks. You know that.
Well, unless the running game gets hot.
Yeah.
So, that's part of football, too. I know you're a receiver. I'm a running back, so,
Oh, you
I think you knew
you
that.
had 248. You know why you had 248?
Why?
Because you had a better quarterback. You would have had
My quarterback that day was 6 for 22 for 50 yards.
That's what I'm saying.
So.
See, you had to have 248 or you were going home.
So, Eric Dickerson, the day you ran over, around, and through my Dallas Cowboys, what was left of them under Coach Tom Landry, that game was played in Anaheim. You played as a Ram in Anaheim. Thank you. These Rams play at USC Stadium on their campus, right? It's the Coliseum. And I covered the Rams once upon a time when they played in the Coliseum. And I have been to many Ram home games in which the crowd just sits on its LA hands, waiting for the team to excite the crowd as opposed to the crowd to excite the team. And I'm not saying it's exactly that way now, because there is some newness, some freshness to it, because the Rams have returned to the Coliseum.
They're winning a little bit, Skip.
Well, they're winning a little bit, but at home, they've had a little bit of home field disadvantage, and this game is going to be in that Coliseum. So they got lit up by Kirk Cousins at home in the Coliseum, and they lost to rival Seattle at home in the Coliseum.
5 turnovers.
Yeah, and they lost to the Eagles, and they even let Nick Foles finish them off in the Coliseum. And then they lost again to the 49ers, but I'm not going to count that because they mailed that one in at the end of the year. And the teams they beat at home to go 4-4 featured Scott Tolzien at quarterback and Tom Savage at quarterback and Drew Stanton at quarterback. And so they had one impressive home game. They held off Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, 26-20. So I'm not sure you've been a dominating football team at home. And here comes the reigning MVP who has struggled all year, but he's been here and done all this. And your guys have not done any of this. This is all new to them. And it's, as you said, one shot or bust. And Atlanta knows how to pull this off. They know how to prep for this game. And I think they're underrated because I don't know anybody who has any more weapons than you just detailed. And that defense, Deion Jones had a coming out party this year. He is serious business. He should have made the Pro Bowl. He didn't make the Pro Bowl. But their defense is starting to fly around like it did.
Who you going to make the Pro Bowl in front of a middle backer? Kuechly or Bobby Wagner? Who you leaving out? Because I think he first alternate. I know who he is in front of.
Yeah. Sean Lee.
Sean Lee? Yeah. No, stop.
Well, he's the best middle linebacker in pro football, and it got proven this year.
No, he's not.
Well, it got proven.
No, it did not.
I mean, when he came back, they became like a top 5 defense.
Alec Ogletree better than he is.
Oh, please, stop.
I'll take that.
So I think I just made the case why I'm more than leaning toward Atlanta. I'm going to pick Atlanta to upset, quote unquote, the Los Angeles Rams.
I'm disappointed in you, Skip.
Well, I'm just telling you the truth.
First
Did I
of
not
all,
make a
I'm
strong
gonna say this.
case?
The Falcons are the Falcons. Now, let's don't get this. I always say they're the Falcons. I always call them the Falcons. You know, when they went to the Super Bowl, when I left the game at halftime, people are like, oh, this game's over. I said, they are the Atlanta Falcons now. It's a different game.
Why you put bad mouth on them?
I just ain't got no faith in the Falcons. I'll say this. You talk about Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. I mean, I don't think he's a great quarterback. Matt Ryan is like most quarterbacks. When you hit him enough,
that's true.
He gets really rattled. Not
I
just
would
rattled,
agree.
he gets really, really rattled. Their defense is good, but our offense is just really good.
It's
really,
explosive,
really good.
yeah.
We have Aaron Donald in the middle. Now, you know for a fact he's going to put some heat on. That front four we got, they're going to be coming. Yeah. I mean, so...
A way to have them coming now.
And you talk about our defense. The defense, to me, has given up... I think we ranked 28th because we've given up some big plays. Yeah. I mean, big play. All of a sudden, we built big plays, and all of a sudden, we shut it down. The last 3 weeks, the Rams have shut the run game totally down. So, for me, I just feel like... And you're right, at home, we have not been that good. We've been better on the road. I agree with that. But we did beat the Saints at home. I mean, and that was a good win.
It was a good win.
We should have beat the Seahawks at home, but, shoulda, woulda, coulda. You didn't, And, but I feel like this football game is a good game for us to make that statement like, we are the Los Angeles Rams. We're a good football team, not just a team that just say, I just don't believe yet. If we win, they're like, they played the Falcons. The Falcons had a tough game last week against Carolina. That was a tough game.
Sure.
They got beat up, and it's kind of a short week. So, for me, I got to go with my Rams.
And they're expecting 70,000 on hand.
And it's not, and Falcon fans don't travel that well.
Nope. It'll be your home game.
And the Rams fans don't show up that well.
Hopefully they will this weekend. I'm with you, Eric. I was with them last weekend. I know that they rested a lot of their guys, But a lot of the players and the vibe around that organization, it is a special feeling. And you feel it among the group. So,
Jenny, I think you're
I had to help him out
caught
a little
up
bit.
in all
He
this.
didn't
I'm a
check
little
for the
caught
man. You
up.
ain't got to stop. I mean, the check's cleared.
Is the check clear?
Yeah, it's clear.
Okay, I'm good then.
No mercy.
The Panthers are a 7-point underdog in their wildcard game on Sunday in New Orleans on Fox. The Saints swept Carolina this season, and Cam Newton struggled in both games. In those 2 losses, Cam threw 3 interceptions and was sacked 6 times. We are joined now by Rob Parker. Thank you so much for joining us, Rob.
What's happening? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Rob, you picked Carolina to go to the Super Bowl. So how much faith do you have in your pick right now?
I'm all in, baby. All in with the Panthers and Cam Newton. And you know what? I know they've lost twice. They got to try to beat. Neither one of these teams have ever played anybody like 3 times trying to win 3 games in one season. It's normally it's pretty hard to do. But in this case, I still like what the Panthers bring to the table, which is they were 5-3 against teams that finished over 500, 8-1 in one-score games, and the one, to me, their signature win this year is when they went up to Foxborough and they beat the Patriots. So I look at that stuff and I like the body of work of what they're able to do, and they remind me of 2 teams that I think they might take the same path to get there. They remind me of the 2010 Packers and the 2007 Giants. If you remember, they had to go on the road, had to face some really tough opponents, and they were both able not only to get through it, but to win Super Bowls. So it is doable. I get the Saints are in the way. I get their running attack. I get that they were able to beat them the first 2 times. I still like Cam. They have the experience from a couple years ago when they made the long run. They went to the Super Bowl. It's not like they're going to be shocked to play good teams in hostile environments. And I know Cam hasn't put up great numbers, but what they have done, Skip, is that they've won those games. And Cam has done a little bit more, maybe running the football and having 200 or 300 yards passing, but he's been able to score touchdowns without a lot of picks. So here it is. If they keep it under 2 turnovers, they're 11-1 this year.
Yeah.
To me, that's the key. Play mistake-free football, and they will be able to be marching in New Orleans instead of the Saints.
I got the Saints to win this game because I believe in the NFC, the top 2 seeds are on backup quarterbacks. I believe Drew Brees can do the least and this team win because they have that dynamic running attack.
Agreed.
Drew Brees completed 72% of his passes. Think about this. We're talking about a running attack with a guy that's playing quarterback that's won a Super Bowl, was the MVP, and has 5 5,000-yard passing seasons. And he's the second. He's B. The A is Ingram and Kamara running the football.
That is a fact.
If you look at it, and Skip, I agree with you, Rob, but Skip, he concerns me with the turnovers. Cam, besides, he's never won a playoff game away from home. Never. Drew Brees, and I wrote this article with John Saraceno when he was at USA Today. I said what Drew Brees accomplished the year that he won the Super Bowl is the greatest run a quarterback's ever been on because he beat Kurt Warner, a 2-time MVP, and in the Hall of Fame. He beat Brett Favre, a 3-time MVP in the Hall of Fame who had won a Super Bowl. He beat Peyton Manning, a 5-time MVP with 4 Super Bowl appearances. So 10 MVPs with 9 Super Bowl appearances.
He had a bounty bowl defense to back him up. But go ahead.
Hey, whatever works.
Yeah.
And for me, I just believe that Drew Brees, of all the quarterbacks that's in the NFC, I trust him the most.
Yep.
Because he's been there, he's done that. Yeah. We know Matt Ryan won the MVP last year. The year before that was Cam. But Drew Brees is the only one of these quarterbacks that's gotten to and won a Super Bowl. So I trust him the most. Cam, I just 0-2. I mean, Drew Brees doesn't lose in the playoffs at home, averaging 37 points a game in that dome. That dome will be rocking.
It'll be rocking.
They'll get 2 turnovers out of Cam, and I think the Saints will win going away.
You ever hear upsets?
You know what? That's the hope. He's the hope. Hater of all time. That's what he is. He got GOAT and LOAT and the folk. He's the hope.
Rob Parker, you have done it again. You have managed to doom another team picking that team.
Yes.
To use Shannon's word, Cam Newton is going to have to be transcendental to win this game.
Yes.
He's going to virtually have to do it by himself in maybe the hardest place to win a playoff. It's just hard there. It's crazy loud. And Drew Brees is much better there than he is away from there.
Correct.
And Cam just doesn't have much around him. It's really Cam or bust. We talked yesterday. He's got to keep running the
He
football.
needs to do the most for them to win.
They won 11 games. They won 11 games
Okay.
with Cam having to be Cam.
Okay.
That's not nothing. That's nothing.
But
to
I'm going to
sneeze at.
remind you that since 2000, the team that swept the 2 games in the regular season is 11-5 in the playoff match. So, do I think that it's hard to win 3 times? No, it's not that hard, and it was pretty convincing. It was 34-13 at Carolina, and then it was 31-21 at New Orleans. So what's going to change? Because Cam can't even rely on a defense that in his MVP year was it in the top 2 with Denver's?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this one is number 7, isn't it?
No, it's 11th in points allowed, and in turnovers forced, it's fallen all the way to 15th. And that
They
year
were
it
number
led. It led. It was
Correct.
just like every time I looked around, they were intercepting Tony Romo again and running it back.
Kuechly was running it back.
Yeah.
Davis was running it back. Josh Norman.
They were just on that emotional sort of magic carpet roll.
Yes.
And I don't see this team being on that roll. And he's throwing to Devin Funchess. It's just not good enough. And little Christian McCaffrey has a big heart, but he's not a difference maker. So I don't know. Cam's the leading rusher. And to your point, he's got to take some chances throwing it downfield. And if he throws it to the other team, they're going to lose.
No, if he does, they will. But also I think sometimes the pressure's off from what they've done. They're the underdog. You know what I
agree with
mean?
that.
Like you go in,
Yeah.
you're 7-point underdogs. You're not supposed to win. I mean, you can't go in there playing scared or being afraid that you can't make it happen.
Does it concern you that in 9 of his 16 games, Cam Newton is thrown for under 200 yards?
That doesn't bother me because they were winning and he wasn't turning the ball over.
Cam is an MVP.
No, I get it. The numbers, though, but sometimes those inflated numbers are bloated anyway. That was always my argument with Stat Patford, you know, in Detroit.
Stat. You see what I'm saying, Skip? This is where we...
But you know what I mean.
Well, that one I can't argue
You
with
can't argue
I
anymore.
Can't,
Have you given up on it? I got you on it.
I like watching Matt Stafford play, but I can't. You say, where's his signature win? I don't know.
He didn't have one after 9 years in the NFL. So my point
Padford.
is, that's Stat Padford. Yeah. But the point is that sometimes those big numbers are hollow and they don't mean anything. So you don't always have to throw for 300 or 400 yards. It's about winning the game and doing what you need. No, I agree.
And by the way, Cam's signature this year was at Foxborough, and Bill Belichick, we've been talking about him, he wasn't very good that day because his defense was pretty awful because it gave up 36 points. Brady put up 33, and it wasn't enough.
That defense is still there, I want you to know. So when we talk about the AFC defense.
Hold on.
The Patriots defense
Hold on for a second. Hold on, what'd you say? How many points did they give up?
36?
Oh, and Brady couldn't win a game?
33?
Aaron Rodgers.
Thank you.
When the team's giving up 51,
33
45, 38.
33? Well, they almost won it.
That's all I would need to know. Thank you. I like to spring that trap.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers 5-6 in the postseason since he won his one and only Super Bowl. Case closed.
He's 1-0. He's 1,000%.
1-0. Yeah.
1,000%.
Only 1-0. Wow.
Hey, it happens.
That's pathetic.
I think if they get by, though, I really do. If the Panthers can get, this is the toughest.
Oh, the first game is always
right?
the toughest. Yeah.
If you get past this, they can make a run. They're going to get there.
With your face on it with the hope.
The hope? Is that where I am now? Hater of all time. I'm not that. I don't hate anybody. I like you, Shannon.
No. Anybody that Skip I pick, no. The Patriots, the Saints, everybody.
But don't you owe me a lunch from the other day?
Oh, that's true. A wings lunch.
You
Straight
get
cash, homie.
No. I'm doing this favor for you after the show. That's your payoff.
That's a payoff.
Payoff?
That's your payoff.
But what? Skip's not asking for a payoff. He's going to just do it.
No, he's not. Skip.
I'm your friend.
Thank you, Skip.
Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
No mercy.
The Patriots are big favorites to win the Super Bowl and have home field advantage throughout the AFC playoffs. New England finished the regular season #1 in total offense, but 29th in total defense. We're joined by Charlie Weis, who won 3 titles in New England. Welcome, Charlie. Good morning.
Good morning.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you in New England winning the Super Bowl?
Assuming that Jacksonville and Kansas City hold serve, if that happens, I'd say about 8. Because I'm not thrilled with the matchup with the Chiefs going in into New England. Now, you think about that opener. Now, granted, there's no Eric Berry now, but you think about that opener. I mean, they the game was close for a couple of quarters, but they whooped them pretty good in the second half now. And I don't think that's the easiest matchup to be playing in the first round. Now, the Patriots kind of own the Steelers. Now, the Steelers didn't win that last game. I don't know when they're ever going to win.
Right.
But psychologically, I think the Patriots have an advantage over the Steelers. But I'm actually concerned. I'm concerned about the first round game.
Interesting.
I got 8 also.
Yep.
I would have said 10 had Tom Brady played great in the month of December. He didn't look like the Tom Brady that we saw in the previous months or Tom Brady that we've seen over the years. And so that's a little concerning for me. And I agree with you. See, I don't think they're going to have to beat the Steelers and the Jags. So one of those will be taken out of the way for them, and they'll have a clear path. I think the Jags, personally, defense match up better against them, but I'm concerned about Blake Bortles.
Yeah, the Jags' defense is pretty strong, and they do have a good running game. If it's a crummy weather game, it could play into the Jags' favor.
Right, because they got physical, they got big defensive linemen. They got Calais Campbell and Malik Jackson that can push the pocket from the inside, and then you got Fowler, you got the Ndikwe, I think that's the name. With the double-digit sack out, collapse in the pocket. You got 2 very, very good. You got a great corners in Ramsey and Boye, and you got Church and you got Cyprian at the safety position. Gibson, I think.
The Jags went into Pittsburgh and whooped them pretty good when they played them. So that'll be really interesting. The first round game, the second round games. If the Jags and Chiefs hold serve. The Jags get to go back into Pittsburgh and see what happens there, and Kansas City goes back into New England and see what happens there. I think that turns into a great weekend of let's see what happens.
But I'm with you, Charlie. I give them an 8, but I would have said 10 had Tom Brady played better down the stretch.
It wasn't perfect. And remember now, you look at 2 things with the Patriots, and I obviously have a special fondness for the Patriots, but 2 things that concern me are, one, the receivers aren't very involved. Now, not that they don't try to get them involved, but you've got Brandon Cooks who can run by everybody, but the receivers aren't super involved in the completions. Most of the completions go to the running backs and the tight end.
Correct.
And then on defense, this is remarkable what they've been able to do on defense because, they just picked up James Harrison, and realize if you asked who do they got in the front 7, you'd be able to tell me James Harrison.
Right.
You wouldn't be able to tell me. You wouldn't be able to tell me another guy. Because with Dante Hightower not playing, you probably couldn't give me one guy that plays in the front 7. So that concerns you some too.
So for those reasons, my faith on a scale of 1 to 10 is not nearly as high as you guys. I'm at a 6. I'm just barely above 500. The other thing you didn't mention was this team. This offensive line has not been able to protect Tom Brady much of the year. Again, 35 sacks this year versus 15 last year. No Marcus Cannon, who I think was their best offensive lineman.
They're on their 3rd-rate tackle. I mean, it's been...
All right, so what have you always preached to me? What happened at Denver a couple of years back, right?
Yeah.
If you can't protect him, if you're all over him, you can actually stop him. The Giants proved that in certainly the first Super Bowl for sure. And they just don't protect him very well. And then to the defense, they're still 29th in the league in yards allowed. I know that got built up off that debacle in the opener, and those first 4 games were historically bad, but 29th is not very good now. In scoring defense, it came down. So they're classic bend but don't break.
But at the end of the day, okay, you have to figure with the coaching staff, who I greatly respect, and with number 12, I mean, you can hide some sense.
Yeah, well, they've been doing it all year.
And I think that they'll find a way to do it again.
Okay, so to your point about Pittsburgh, at some point Pittsburgh's just going to break through. I don't know. I mean, if
they got to win one.
I know,
sooner
just
or later.
somewhere they just finally say we're sick and tired of this. I thought it would be this year at Pittsburgh.
It's kind of funny when I see people. Like I live in South Florida, and I'll run into a Steeler fan, and they said, "Yeah, we're really good." I said, "Yeah, but you get ragdolled by the Patriots every time you end up playing them." So, I mean, until you start beating them, and Well, we said when we were watching that up, I do the Patriot pre and post game show. And we said if the Steelers weren't going to win that game, they're never going to win.
No.
If they didn't win that,
So,
I mean, how could you not win that?
I got you. So if it does come to Kansas City going back to Foxborough, I think I'm betting on 12 in that game, just on revenge. Like he will get even for opening night. But Jacksonville is dangerous because they can rush the passer. They can jump all over those receivers, and it's not a great group. So it's like New England would have a hard time scoring on Jacksonville.
And maybe Pittsburgh would have a chance if they understood that it's allowed to double Gronkowski.
Yeah.
It's not against the rules.
That's what the Jets did last week.
Because I sat there and watched an entire second half.
You did.
With Gronkowski just eating them up, and it was one-on-one coverage. And I'm saying, 1-double-87, 1-double-87, 1-double-87. Does anyone understand that it's not against the rules to double Gronkowski?
That's what I told Skip that until they show me, because there are very few teams that have one guy that can match up with Gronk. So basically, I'm going to say if Brandon Cooks, if you can go get 200, Hogan, Amendola's not going to beat you. Okay, he get 3 or 4 first downs. Gronk, Amendola, and Hogan and Cooks, they're paper cuts. Rob Gronkowski is sending you to the trauma center. He's going to get you $150.
And this wasn't by design, but do you know how many times they threw the ball to Gronkowski last week against the Jets?
0.
None. They didn't throw it to him one time. Very good, Skip. And why? Because they said he's not going to beat us. And I think that's a strategy. Anyone that's playing.
I think Tom got mad that he kept saying it's Gronk or bust, like Gronk.
No, that was
Tom Brady.
No,
and he finally said,
"Look,
Shannon,
Tommy
I'm
throws to the open guy. That's what he does.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a lot of teams where you have to throw the ball to him. You have to throw it to him. You know, he's one of the few quarterbacks that can do both coverage reads and progression reads. Usually a quarterback can do one or the other. The great ones can do both.
Right.
Okay, but so he's thrown to the open guy, or the guy, you know, that if it's every man-to-man coverage, he's thrown to the best matchup.
Yeah, and Gronk is always the best matchup.
If it's one-on-one,
Exactly.
he's always the best matchup. But
Was that Mike Tomlin's pride involved here? Is
Well,
he
you
just
know,
saying I'm not going to double
a lot of
big joker?
A lot of coordinators, Skip, is that they don't want to junk their entire defense because we play our coverage. We do what we do, and we feel we're good enough. But that's not good enough against him. Now, if you're gonna go get pressure on him, now Denver didn't double him, but they had Von Miller and Ware, Malik Jackson and Wolf, and they would, you get 4 guys that can get home, you can play because he doesn't have a whole lot of time. But if you're gonna let him pat the ball, and you got Gronk one-on-one, Gronk's gonna have a monster day.
And I've always said you can take one player out of a game
if you want to.
You know, you could take one out. You know, if you have 2 pass rushers, okay, you have a problem.
Protection one way
Because you can't keep everybody in.
Right.
Okay, but if you have one dynamic pass rusher, you could take him out of the game. If you have one receiver, you could roll to him.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take one guy out of the game. The problem is when you get these teams that have multiple weapons, and if you take him out, fine, we'll throw it to the other guys.
Right.
You know.
So that's what, and see, that's what makes Jacksonville so dangerous, Skip, is that they got a front 4. Where do you slide your line to? They got edge rushers and they got 2 guys that can lapse. I mean, Calais Campbell had 14.5 sacks. Malik Jackson, I think, had 7.5, 8.
When you get pressure just rushing 4, it's a problem now.
Yeah.
You know?
And especially up the middle, because Tommy wants to step into his throws. He's not
Now
trying to.
you're calling him Tommy?
Yeah.
Oh, I like this.
Hold it. That's because he's on a first name basis. Then he's called him Tommy.
Normally I call him Brady.
That is true.
Most of the,
Well, the one advantage New England has against Jacksonville is that it does boil down to Blake Bortles versus Bill Belichick. I think I'll take Bill in that match.
because you got to figure, Coach. You got to get to 24 points to beat the Patriots. Let's just say 24 is a conservative estimate. If you can get to 24.
You have a chance.
I don't know if Tom can get to 24 against Jacksonville.
It's going to be
That's-
But here's the thing. What can Blake Bortles get?
No mercy,
There is major drama between Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, which was revealed in a piece by ESPN's Seth Wickersham. A major problem was Belichick reportedly wanting to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, but Robert Kraft ordered Belichick to trade him. This made Belichick furious, and he texted Kyle Shanahan and gave Garoppolo away for a second-round pick to the 49ers. Most people thought before the season that the Patriots could have gotten a lot more than a second-round pick for Jimmy. We are joined by FS1 NFL analyst Eric Dickerson. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Welcome to the show.
Wisdom here.
I want to get your wisdom first.
All right, so let's start with Skip. Did Belichick sabotage New England with that trade?
Not only did he sabotage the future of the New England Patriots, but it feels like that internally this year he has declared war on his quarterback. He's pushed his personal trainer out, the guy who runs and is business partners with Tom Brady of the TB12 complex. And he did give away Jimmy Garoppolo for a second-round draft pick to a young coach in Kyle Shanahan, who is the son of a coach that he is close with. You've made a strong point about that, Mike Shanahan.
Yep.
And Mike Shanahan was the one coach who stood up and vouched to the commissioner for Bill Belichick during the Spygate sort of proceedings,
That is
the
correct.
investigation, right?
Yes.
And so he's forever beholden to Mike, and he did a huge favor for young Kyle, and it's pointed out in this piece, and I thought it was the most interesting little bombshell tidbit, was that at the Combine, Bill Belichick sat, quote unquote, for hours with Kyle Shanahan to go over what happened to Atlanta in the Super Bowl. Well, that's treasonous, quote unquote, because you can't sit with a young head coach and tell him this is how we beat you, because that guy could come back to haunt you at some point. And it's just open warfare internally against Tom Brady and to a certain extent against Robert Kraft. Yes. And I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, because I want to hear from Mr. Kraft at some point, because he mandated you will trade Jimmy Garoppolo, and then he allowed Belichick, who has total control of all the personnel decisions, to trade him for what? To whom? And I got to think they're not real happy, Robert Kraft and his son, with how this shook out, because you gave away Jimmy G and you gave away Jacoby Brissett to the team that blew the whistle on Tom Brady over Deflategate.
Basically gave him away for nothing.
Gave him away for nothing.
Yeah. So Philip Dorsett's he was a bust in Indianapolis, and so far he's been pretty much a bust with only 12 catches so far in New England. So in the end, it's funny to me, because one of the last lines in this piece by Seth Wickersham is, a fifth Super Bowl triumph healed some of these wounds, but there's no guarantee that a sixth will fix the rest. Well, think about the perspective on this. So they just won last year's Super Bowl, and they're prohibitive favorites to win this year's Super Bowl, and it's a wreck. It's a mess. Who wouldn't want to be in the middle of this wreck, right? What other team wouldn't want this? But we all know what happens when credit's on the line. We saw Jerry Jones fire Jimmy Johnson after 2 Super Bowls. How can
Back
you do
to back.
that? Back to back. You're out because you are a threat to my credit, and I will not stand your intolerance of me being around the football team. And he just fired him. And I had no problem with it, because Jimmy was hard on Jerry. But in this case, it's just open warfare now. The owner had to choose, quarterback or coach. I would choose the quarterback. I think Bob Kraft made the right choice, but then he allowed Bill Belichick to continue to operate and to sabotage the future of the Patriots.
Whew, wow, that's wow.
I agree with you, Skip. Not only did he he's trying to undermine Tom, he's trying to undermine this organization, because he's recommending, not only could he possibly leave, he's recommending that Josh McDaniel and Matt Patricia also leave.
And that's new. He hasn't done that before.
Never.
Yeah.
Never. And normally, teams do not trade quarterbacks, no matter how bad they possibly are or what you think of them. Mm-hmm. They don't trade quarterbacks for wide receivers. Mm-hmm. And if you wanted a wide receiver, why not get Dante Moncrief? Mm-hmm. Why would you take Philip Dorsett? Yeah, he ran 4.27 or 4.28 when he came out. Yeah. But he, by any metrics, by any analytics, he's been a bust. Mm-hmm. That's what we know, Skip. And I'm not surprised that 5 Super Bowls, because remember, Shaq and Kobe won 3 straight, missed it, went back to the finals, and Shaq had to go. What did Kyrie Irving? They've gone to 3 straight finals. They've won a finals, but he said, I want to do it on my own.
No,
in order for me,
a good analogy.
in order for me to get the credit that I think I deserve, I got to have my own flop.
Okay.
And so I'm not surprised by this, but I've always felt that Coach Belichick, if Coach Belichick were to win a Super Bowl minus Tom Brady, it's not the Patriot way, it's not Brady's way, it's Bill
Belichick's way.
And that would be the ultimate. Because now, some people say, well, Skip believes it's 75-25. And some people say, well, it's more 50-50. And some say it's 55-45 Brady or 55-45 Belichick. He wins a Super Bowl. Without Tom Brady, there is no metric, there's no analytic that wouldn't say that Bill Belichick is the reason why they won. And everybody wants, look, I like praise.
Well, that would cement him as the greatest coach of all time.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's a very short list. I mean, some guys have gone and didn't lose any. Coach Noel didn't lose any. Bill Walsh didn't lose any. But it's hard to believe. It's hard for a man to have coached for basically the last 20 years, get a team to 8, win 6, and you not say he's the greatest
coach. Yeah.
So I'm not surprised by this. But this article that's well written, and give ESPN and Seth Wickersham credit. In all the years, nobody has written an in-depth behind the scenes of the Patriots like this. Somebody wanted this story told. Somebody had to tell their side of the story.
Yep.
And it's being told.
And it sure sounds like it was told by either Bill Belichick or his camp, because that's the way it's all positioned in this piece.
Well, like everything, all empires come to an end. The Roman Empire came to an end.
And how did it fall? From within?
From within. And the same thing with the Patriots. I mean, I told you when I went to Israel with Mr. Kraft, and Robert Kraft and Tom Brady are very, very tight. I mean, they were FaceTime, and you could tell. I mean, that's his boy.
Oh, really?
Oh,
father and son.
Yeah, I mean, that is his boy. I mean, it's no doubt. When I heard about this possible tiff and about possibly trading Jimmy Garoppolo, Tom Brady doesn't want a true backup. He wants a backup, not a guy that's going to threaten him now. I mean, nobody wants that.
Brian Hoyer.
Nobody wants no threat now because you're looking over your shoulder. What did Tom Brady say? I'm going to play time 45 years old. Robert Kraft is going to give him that opportunity. If he had to choose between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, he's going to take Tom Brady. I mean, for sure.
Is that personal or professional?
It's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
It probably is. I mean, look, you can. I'll say this much here: you can win so many Super Bowls. It is. I mean, okay, 5, 6, 7. I mean, it's like okay, enough.
The way Mr. Kraft looks at it, he's indebted to Tom Brady because he made Mr. Kraft a household name. Coach Belichick said, we compensated Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. He's a player.
He's a player.
I'm looking for the future. Mm-hmm. Now, you want to pat him on the back and say, okay, congratulations. And I congratulate him too. But what Tom Brady did, and he always says this, Coach Belichick says, the past has nothing to do with the present.
Yep.
So he's like, what those Super Bowls, Tom? We already got those. I'm trying to get more. Which would you rather have, Mr. Kraft? Do you want Tommy for 1 to 2 more years, or do you want 12 years of Jimmy Garoppolo and possibly 2, 3 more Super Bowls? Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. Kraft said, I like the 5 that Tom gave me, and if we don't get any more, I'm very appreciative of what he's done. Mm-hmm. You will trade Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, think about it. I mean, he's traded him to San Francisco, and I got to give the coach credit is that he didn't trade him to Cleveland. Like my situation. I wanted to go to the Washington Redskins. The Redskins wanted me. The Rams like, oh hell no, we're gonna send you to Indianapolis. So you have to give Bill Belichick that much credit. He did him right because coaches really don't do players right.
But he did his organization
wrong. He did. In a sense, he did him wrong. But like I said, who owns that football team? We know who owns that football team, Robert Kraft.
Right.
That's going to be his call. No matter what, I'm going to make the call. It was the same thing with Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones on the Dallas Cowboys. Just because you won me 2 Super Bowls, okay, you figure, I'll give me somebody else to win me 2 Super Bowls or more. And he did. So
Brett Favre's best friend on the Packers was who? Ty Detmer. Posed no threat. He went out of his way to make sure he wasn't going to help Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Skip, it's like
especially when you're 38, 39.
Yeah. Think about it. Skip, if somebody they come on the job and your boss tell you, okay, you're going to train them. Train them for what? To take my job? You must be high. Well, you can either train them or get fired.
And I do believe this. I think Tom Brady and Garoppolo are they might not be friends, but they're friendly.
Yes.
I think there was
Yeah.
a nice rapport between the two.
Garoppolo, Tommy knew what Jimmy posed to him, Skip.
Yeah. Well, sure he did.
Of course.
Okay.
So I ain't trying to be buddy. Oh, you think I'm going to be your buddy and help you out? Skip, well, tell him about the story. How Jimmy got hurt and he showed up the TB12 centers.
You know what? Of all the little bombshells in this, I'm not sure. I'd like to hear Brady's and TB12 complex's side of this, but according to this, Garoppolo he needed treatment after he got his shoulder hurt, his second game that he played.
Yeah.
And he showed up for his appointment, and the door was locked at the TB12 complex. And it finally took a call from the Patriots training staff to TB12 complex to set up a further appointment, some other in the future. But after a while, he did go to TB12 complex. But so it wasn't like he was shut out of it. But I'd like to hear Tom Brady's side of that story because I'm not sure about that.
Do you actually think Tom Brady would say, yeah, we had the door locked? What do you expect him to say, Skip?
Well, I just don't know if he would be behind that. Could it have been an accident or a misunderstanding? I don't know. I don't know.
Those balls got deflated by accident too, didn't
okay, no, they not by Tom Brady. I don't believe.
No,
it.
he ordered it.
And by the way, speaking of Tom Brady, I know two ex-players who are very close with Tom Brady, and they have consistently told me that Tom Brady has consistently been perplexed by the fact, almost bemused by the fact, that Bill wants nothing to do with him socially. So they have little to no relationship off the football field in the offseason.
Right.
They played golf once, I think, because they got paired together at Pebble, but they don't choose to play golf in New England in the summertime.
So they don't hang out.
They don't have any relationship. And Brady kind of wanted one. He's always been a little bit like hurt over it, like I wonder why. But again, he's the general, and the general has to keep the arms linked with the soldiers.
Because, Skip, it makes it hard when you have a personal relationship to let something go. Coach Belichick, NFL, not for long. He knows he's going to have to make tough decisions. And the toughest decision normally for a team is when the quarterback is a Brady or a Montana or a Favre.
But if they did have some closeness, as some quarterbacks have had with head coaches, then you could work through and talk through this rift a little more easily. And now it's just Cold War between the two of them.
How are we going to get through How are we going to get through a rift when I know you want me gone? What are we talking about?
Well, I'll still say, that team is owned by Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft owns that football team, so he makes all the ultimate decisions. No matter what Tom Brady says, no matter what
I believe this is the only decision that Coach Belichick has had an opportunity to make, and since he's been the owner, since he's been the general manager and head coach, that Mr. Kraft vetoed him. I feel very comfortable.
Well, through the offseason, you and I virtually concluded Tom Brady's going to last one more year because Belichick's going to say, thank you very much, but you're going to have to go end it somewhere else the way Joe Montana ended in Kansas City.
And we said, Mr. Kraft's going to have to make a decision.
Choice.
Yes.
Okay.
And he made it.
So you think that this will be Tom Brady's last year?
Now the odd man out is the head coach.
Right.
It's his last year. Because I just think he's going to be elsewhere, and the obvious landing spot would be the New York Football Giants because they're still without.
Well, they can't hire Josh McDaniels if they want Coach Belichick, so they might have to hold off.
If I'm the Giants, I'm holding off until after this run is over.
And how much you make? How much he paying you? Well, we got at least $5 million more because it's reported he's making somewhere between $15 $20 million. We don't know if that's. What would the Giants pay? What would any team pay
to get
him?
No mercy.
The NFL playoffs get underway tomorrow. The Patriots enter the playoff as a big favorite to win it all ahead of the Vikings, Steelers, and Saints. According to Westgate, the Eagles' odds have dropped all the way to 15-1 following the injury of Carson Wentz and a bad finish to the season by Nick Foles. We are joined by FS1 NFL analyst Eric Dickerson. Eric, give me your picks to win the NFC, the AFC, and the Super Bowl.
Who you think Who you think I'm gonna say can win the NFC?
Look, team nearby where we are, Los Angeles.
Skip, just for you, no, I'm not going to pick the Rams.
Really?
I know you
well,
thought I would.
You should do it just for you.
I can't. You know what? I don't want to be a homer. I can't be that guy.
You don't want to jinx them.
I don't want to jinx my team. I'm gonna go with Carolina.
You're going.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Carolina. I said Carolina.
Whoa.
I said Carolina was playing well 5 weeks ago. I said they're playing really good football.
You did say that.
I like the way they're playing. I know one thing, that Cam has the tendency to turn the football over, but I think in this game here, it's hard to beat a team twice, and it's really hard to beat a team 3 times. Cam is a big factor in this football game. The real, as you call Sean Lee, Lou Kuechly, that defensive leader. I think is a leader of that, for sure is a leader of that defense. And I just like Carolina in this football game. I think that they're the team to beat in the NFC. For as the AFC goes, I can't go with your team. I know you love the Patriots. I got to go with the Steelers. I mean, I'm a Steeler guy. I think the big thing in this football game is the injury to Ryan Shazier. You know, you'll be surprised how hard players play when one of their teammates go down and they want to make a statement. I know that the Patriots beat them in Pittsburgh. I still think that was a catch for a touchdown, but that's neither here nor there. I think that if they have Antonio Brown back, that is the X factor in that football game. But right now, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC to win it. And I think to win it all, I'm going to go with the Steelers.
For me, I'm leaning towards the Saints and the Pats Super Bowl because I think I trust Drew Brees in the NFC the most. The two top seeds are playing with backup quarterbacks. And I think because Drew Brees has been there, and I believe he can do the least and still win because their run game is so dominant. Their defense is better than advertised. I mean, they're not the 2000 Ravens or they're not the Broncos of 2015, but they get timely turnovers. They can get to the quarterback.
They're 10th in points allowed.
Right.
Not bad.
Not bad. And the Patriots. This upheaval, drama, whatever's going on behind the scenes in New England will have no effect. They're a game by game. They keep their eye on the prize. They don't get distracted by what could possibly happen a month from now, 2 months from now. And if you watch them, they're going to practice in the bye week with that bomb cyclone hovering above their stadium. I mean, I'm like, Coach Belichick, come on now.
That's for sure.
I mean, come on, Coach. Like,
that's show, too.
Because you know what he's saying? What happens if it's like that when we play? Yeah. So I need to get you prepared to play in that. Remember, Skip, that's what we said. You're the guy that prepares this team for all situations, and he going to get rid of two quarterbacks and not be prepared. Something's going on with that. So I'm going to take the Patriots. I'm going to take the Saints. And I had Seattle, but they didn't make it. So I'm going to go Patriots, Saints, and I'm going to say Pats get number 6.
Really? So I am with you on the Saints because I will be shocked if Cam Newton can rise above this football game this weekend and win at New Orleans, because that is hard. And I'm going to say it again. The best stat is that since 2000, the team that swept the regular season is 11-5 in the postseason matchup. So the Saints have won pretty easily twice, and I think they're going to win pretty easily again as a 7-point favorite. And I hate that you're putting even more pressure on Cam Newton because he doesn't deserve it. He's played the best he can play with what he has to work with, which is not much. It's Devin Funchess or bust at the wideout. It's Cam running the football. He's the leading rusher for the football team. And I still say little McCaffrey's got a big heart and he's got some talent, but he's not a difference maker that I think they thought he would be to take some pressure off Cam. And the defense has not been that 2015 top 2 defense that led the NFL in takeaways. It's 11th in points allowed, and it's 15th in takeaways, so it can't save Cam when he needs to be saved. So I don't see it. It'd be fun to watch, and he's going to have to be MVP good, man, because he's going to have to rise above all that.
You know, sometimes it's not even about the numbers. It's about when you get hot at the right time, and you have a healthy football team. It was like the Giants with 2007.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, everybody said, you know, that the Patriots are a shoo-in. When I took the Giants in that game, in the Super Bowl, I said the Giants are getting healthy at the right time. They're playing very good football, you know, when they have to play for good football.
Okay, but they had hung in the final regular season game with the record-setting Patriots, right? We went to the last drop.
Right? I bet, Cam, you think about this, Skip. The Carolina Panthers let Ted Ginn go. He goes to New Orleans. They would love to have Ted Ginn Jr. right now in Carolina because he's played well. He's played very well. Michael Thomas, that's what made it so easy to get rid of Brandon Cook, Skip.
I know.
Michael, the emergence, I mean, he has the most catches. He has almost 200 catches in 2 years. So that's why it was so easy for Sean Payton to move on.
So Drew Brees has his lowest touchdown pass total of his career. And we are picking the Saints because of that.
Well, and one thing, they run the football.
That's what I'm saying.
I guess they can run the football.
Yeah.
Kamara and
Ingram, they can run the football.
Yards per attempt, they lead the NFL.
And guess what? You got to kick the ball to Kamara. You just saw him take one back, the longest kick return touchdown in the NFL this year.
Yep.
So they come up with so many different ways to get him the football. They hand it to him. They throw it to him. You got to kick it to him.
I'm still going with Carolina.
Okay.
I like Carolina.
So I'm still barely hanging on with the team I picked before the season, the Patriots, to win it all, as did you.
You don't like this article,
Speaking of bomb cyclones, this is the bomb cyclone, right? But it did calm me a little bit that they have just released a statement, and this is a joint statement from Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, and Tom Brady in that order. And if we could put it up on the screen, I'm just going to go ahead and read it for everybody's edification right now. For the past 18 years, the three of us have enjoyed a very good and productive working relationship. In recent days, there have been multiple media reports that have speculated theories that are unsubstantiated, highly exaggerated, or flat out inaccurate. The three of us share a common goal. We look forward to the enormous challenge of competing in the postseason and the opportunity to work together in the future, just as we have for the past 18 years. It is unfortunate that there is even a need for us to respond to these fallacies. As our actions have shown, we stand united. Well, bully for them. They should have done this. This is how you sort of clear the air and get ready for your playoff run. I'm not going to dispute a lot of this, and I still say it came from the Belichick camp, or he was somewhat even secondhand the source of all this information. I believe he still sabotaged the team. I believe he's declared war on his quarterback in little big ways. And yet, are they capable of pulling together and going to win a Super Bowl? Yes, they are, because they have been there and done that a whole lot.
One thing about when you play football, even if you're having problems, marital problems, whatever, in court, you know, when you go to that football field, you leave it all behind you. So, you know, I do agree with you at that part. You know, I think that when they go out to play, they're going to play football. That's what it's all about. You know, will they put this behind them? You know, will they be the same team they were in the last 10 years? Probably not. I don't think so. I think that I always say that, you know, the owner has the ultimate say. That's Robert Kraft. You can tell that's very well written, you know, yes, probably by an attorney or someone.
Probably.
You know, so, you know, that's probably not how they really feel. We'll never know how they really feel unless you really close.
We're going to find out how they really feel very shortly here.
Yep. The article indicates that there's there's some sadness hanging over the organization as they get ready for their playoff launch here, that it could be the last hurrah together, and I think it will be.
Think about it, Skip. This is probably the first time that Mr. Kraft told Coach Belichick that he had to do something. And this was enough to send him over. It's like you tell somebody, Skip, you signed 5,000 autographs. You tell one person no, and now you're a butthole.
You're a bad guy. You're a bad guy.
One time.
That is a fact.
That Mr. Kraft said, you got to do this. After all the time, okay, Bill, that's what you want? Go ahead. Okay, Bill, that's what you want? Okay. You want his guy? Okay. You want to trade for this? Okay, so be it. The one time, and this was enough.
But I'm going to tell you, like anything, you're going to take care of your boy. And I'll say this again. That is Tom Brady and Robert Kraft, that is his boy. I mean, he loves him. You can just tell they are
Tom Brady's won him a bunch of Super Bowls, man.
He won Coach Belichick a bunch of
Super Bowl too.
But Coach Belichick said, I want to win a couple of more. But you ain't going to be here. You're closer to the end than the beginning. Jimmy Garoppolo's in the beginning.
So Shannon Sharp, I'm going to remind you one more time.
Okay.
The New England Patriots effectively had only 2 Pro Bowlers because they got the fullback and the special teams players, right? Yeah. Devlin and Matthew Slater.
Right.
But they had Gronk and they had number 12.
Correct.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And they are now prohibitive favorites to go win yet another Super Bowl. And it's mostly because number 12 is going to be the MVP.
If they just had one Pro Bowler, as long as they got Brady.
Okay.
Because you look at, you like Mariota, you like Alex Smith, you like Blake Bortles. Basically, Vegas is looking at, you got one stumbling block in your way, that's the Steelers, who you've owned.
You have, but to Eric's point, I do not condemn you for picking Pittsburgh, because at some point you're going to be right.
At some point.
You're going to be right. They're just going to do it. They're going to break through.
Thank you.
What's Tom Brady? Tom Brady lifetime is 11-2 against that franchise. Well, at some point, he might be 11-3. It happens. What do you say? It's football.
It's football. Yeah. You know how it works.
Yeah, I feel better though after I've beaten a team a couple of times.
You get overly confident. What happened? You get overly confident about it.
No mercy.
Thanks for listening to the Undisputed Podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. Join us again at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Monday for another full week of Undisputed. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports, one of one.